And there he is.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, 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 what's going on, Hot 16's crowd? What's going on? We're back for another installment with your host, AJ Tanner. And today's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a learning. Today we're about learning. I encourage everyone to get out their notebook and their pen and pencil because today we have a very fun guest. And this is a close friend of mine, someone I've had the great privilege of knowing for a few years now. Maintained a great relationship. And we're actually going to be diving into the world of history. And we are bringing on a very smart individual that I had the opportunity of running across at the Porter Meadows of UC Santa Cruz. And, well, now here we are, college graduates, podcast hosts, and much more. And without further ado, I want to introduce my guest today to the show. No other than Marcelo Lomelin. Marcelo, go ahead and tell the Hot 16's audience who you are, buddy.
What's up? What's up? Hello, Hot 16's audience. What's up, AJ? It is a pleasure to
what's
be on
up,
this
buddy?
show.
What's up? Yeah, hey, thank you for doing this. I'm really glad that you were willing to do this and step out the box a little bit.
Well, yeah, doing a little something different, and thanks for the invite. Thanks for even thinking of me.
No, definitely. I'm a proud friend. You just recently got your master's degree from, was it Arizona State, correct?
Yes, ASU Arizona State.
Yeah, so Marcelo, he just obtained a master's degree from Arizona State University. Very, very smart young man. He's got a good passion. He's got a good drive to want to be, like, how would you say it? Like kind of a voice for who?
I don't want to be anybody's voice.
Yeah. So what are you trying to obtain with the degree that you just recently obtained?
Yeah. So I just got my master's in justice studies. So when most people hear that, they assume it's something to do with like criminal justice. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you want to be a cop like your dad or whatever. Oh, you want to be a lawyer."
Hey, and shout out to Marcelo's dad, one of the coolest cops you'll ever meet, hands down.
That's facts. But yeah, and my response is, not necessarily, because with my degree, so I'm basically just trying to just create some sort of positive change in the world, and that begins in small conversations and big conversations like this, and
yes.
And through very big actions as well.
But definitely, Marcelo. That's so you're not trying to on the criminal aspect, but just like being like approaching, would you say, things in the criminal justice that are not criminal? What was the justice degree again?
So it's justice studies. So my focus was particularly environmental justice.
There we go. So go ahead and touch on that for the audience with environmental justice in your degree.
Yeah. So environmental justice is basically the concept that that BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer communities continue to be historically and continue to be to receive the brunt of a lot of environmental disasters, whether that be through like smog output, in urban spaces. If you look at that, it's almost always brown or Black or working class, poor, under-resourced communities
that are getting the more the effects of what we're putting out into the ecosystem.
1,000%. So if you look at asthma rates are just there's a stark difference between the white and Asian populations, and then alternatively,
So say, for instance, like if we were to compare and if we were to get stats, and you were to compare, say, my neighborhood out here in the Norwalk kind of Downey area compared to, say, Anaheim Hills, the asthma rate where I live would be substantially higher than Anaheim Hills.
Most likely. But and we can take this back even further. So if you look back at like when industrialization was kind of like coming into the forefront, and we can think of like modern industrialization with like the Ford factory system, right? So basically,
that's a good way to start.
Yeah, that's an easy place to start. Basically, the turn of the century, this factory mindset in which you do one action for the entire day, and you're screwing this one bolt on for your entire shift.
Yeah, that's just the same concept as anything nowadays. It's all quick, like Amazon or anything, you know.
Right. But that was relatively novel at the time.
Well, it was in the eyes of the world, and I guess you say progression. It was, we didn't know what the long-term effects of this was going to be, and logistically looking at it, it was a more logistical, more economical way of production during that time.
Yeah, I think efficient in terms
efficient
of
would be the word to use there. Yeah, I could agree
for
with
like
that. More
from the
efficient.
capitalist perspective, you know, the amount of labor that goes into the production of a product that can be sold was minimized. The amount of time that went into a product that can be sold
So
was
are you
minimized.
would you directly, or not blame, but would you put a lot of that towards the Ford Motor Company for really showing the world, hey, you can do this task and you can do it way quicker if you set it up like this? Would Ford kind of be the not the leader, but a little responsible for how we industrialize and how we mass produce things today?
I think that would be kind of like a huge indictment against the Ford company itself. Henry Ford, and I believe that he wasn't even the one to actually come up with a streamlined process of industrial production. I believe one of his foremen or like managers kind of came up with this, and he of course took the credit. But you know,
well, that's the same thing as McDonald's with the whole Speedy system and how
yes,
yeah.
and see, and that's why I don't think it would be appropriate to put that on Henry Ford himself or even the foreman who thought of the idea.
But there was a few groups during that time. I mean, you had more than automobiles being mass produced during the Industrial Revolution.
Of course.
You had steel, you had a lot. Yeah, you had so much being mass produced for the first time in a great quantitative amount.
Yeah, and so if you are you know, searching for somewhere to put the blame, it's not necessarily on any company, it's not necessarily on any actor in particular, but you want to look at the thought process, right? You want to look at the logic that goes behind, whether it be the Ford industry, whether it be the fast food industry with McDonald's. The very concept is the extraction of labor at the most efficient rate. And this has no regard to the workers. This has no regard to the laborers. This is all about the products and their consumption, right? And so that's the basic concept, and that's the driving force for efficient exploitative production.
And then it makes their pockets deeper, and then it's just a trickle effect where it goes on for years and years and years and years and years.
yeah, of course, and you know, it's this is the type of thought process that really fuels our modern logics, the way that we perceive modern transactions and the way that we perceive what we are entitled to or not entitled to.
Yeah. So would you kind of say, though, this kind of falls back on the original question of with the environmental justice? It's kind of looking at it like, how can I use this and not let this get worse, or how can I prevent this from happening in the future?
Yeah, we'll see. That's the thing, is they're not looking at the future, and if they are, they're looking at increased dollar profits, right? Increased production, increased efficiency, expansion, growth, and these are fundamental concepts of the capitalist logic.
Definitely.
And the concern is not of the environment. The concern is
it's never a monopolization. Any company with that monopolization, they're never thinking about progression of life or humanity. They're just thinking about themselves and, okay, well, I know I'm going to die, so fuck everybody after that.
Exactly. So I mean, it may have occurred to them. I mean, there was groundbreaking research in the 60s and 70s that was showing
that's the same thing with cigarettes.
CO2 emissions are causing massive damage. Greenhouse gases are causing significant damage. You know, that prompted I forget her name, but she wrote Silent Spring, in which God, I can't believe I'm spacing on her name. But yeah,
Was
yeah,
this
yeah.
was this Silent Spring, was that a book that you had to read when you were obtaining this degree?
So I did not read that book, but I did uh, was taught about the book and the social impact that it had as
And
just the potential future in which their life
well,
would
it just kind of
radically
falls
change.
back even to where when you compare climate and global change with that right there in the 60s and 70s. In the 60s, people were saying cigarettes gave you throat cancer.
Right.
Right? It's kind of the same like thing where the bigger companies are afraid that if the truth comes out, well, there goes all their money, Like there's still going to be a demand for that product. Not everyone's going to put you out the back door, but it's very unfortunate that corporate greed has led to pretty much the destruction of this planet.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah.
And so with this, there's been a lot of recent climate change events, right?
Dude, I would say like right now what we're experiencing in Southern California, it was 113 degrees the other day at my house. And you live in Arizona. You live near Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I mean, you grew up in Los Angeles. And I already know that when it gets over 110 and you're only like a few miles away from the ocean, that's kind of concerning.
It's crazy.
Like it literally the other day, I was going to go to the NFL kickoff concert for J Balvin. I didn't go simply for the fact of the matter. It was 104 on the beach in Long Beach.
Fuck.
I mean, yeah, that's nice, but I'm not going to go and drink all day in 104-degree heat on the beach. It's supposed to be like 80.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was a little thing. I just, like right now, like this freak, like we just got 3/4 to an inch of rain from yesterday into today in LA, and then we just came out of 100 to 112-degree heat, and then so pretty much what they're saying though, since you're talking about environmental, justice and all that, I've been doing my own research, and I've been reading and seeing that with climate change and the unusual weather patterns that right now the atmosphere is drumming up a mega storm for California in the next year or two.
Really?
Yeah, in terms of like, see, that's the thing that kind of gets me is because with everything I've learned in terms of like the world and changing and all that, I've learned that climate change, there's more intense storms. There's more rain. There's more water. Well, why is Lake Mead drying up? Well, where's all this water that you said is going to come from all this climate change?
Right.
We need it more than ever. Where the hell is it? But the thing is we haven't had these storms, and I can adhere to this because when I was younger, growing up north in Northern California, bro, dead ass, we'd be getting 70 to 110 inches of rain in my town every winter.
That's nuts.
And then all of a sudden, like 2005, 2006, when the drought really started to kick up out that way, up into that part of the States, and it just like you get 30 to 40 inches now. My dad has ICOs with the rainfall totals between 70 and 115 inches when I was a little boy in the late 90s, dude. Wow. And like those storms have not happened here in a long time. And I feel like what I have been seeing is accurate. I think we're going to have an insane amount of snow come down on the ground. We're going to have more dust storms. We're going to have more rain. We're going to have more freaky, unusual weather patterns to come if we don't fucking straighten shit up quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's facts.
And it is facts. And that's the thing that scares me is because, like, for instance, I had shared with my family that, okay, I took a course in 2014 about hybrid and alternative fuel. And I learned real quick that electric car batteries, are worse for the environment than driving a carbon emission vehicle.
Really?
You can't recycle them. It's a nickel metal hydride battery. They're nickel metal hydride and they're not lithium ion. We can recycle lithium ion. We have massive amounts of batteries, Duracell, all your batteries are lithium ion, your cell phone, your computer. Well, electric cars are nickel metal hydride. And I will share today the reason why they're nickel metal hydride is because some of the first electric cars built in the 90s came with lithium ion batteries. Those lithium ion batteries cannot withstand over 132 degrees Fahrenheit operating. Oh. So they start sending the first gen Priuses over to Afghanistan and Iraq, and the batteries start exploding.
Oh my God.
And because if you've ever heard of the computer that catches fire inside a car and it got left inside a hot car,
Yeah.
Lithium ion expands. It has a very, very low melting point. So they did research and they found that when you take nickel metal hydride and you combine those elements together, it has a little bit higher of a melting point. It's still low, but it's 152 degrees before it expands. The hottest record ever recorded on Earth is Death Valley in the 1910s of 134 degrees. So they were able to scientifically make these compounds and build this battery, but it's in series parallel. And what it takes to mine these raw metals out of Africa and
Right.
Tanzania, and the
Right.
child labor that is going, dude, it's fucked. And it's fucked. And then California, let's put the cherry on top on this one. We're talking about environmental stuff. Okay, California just passed this thing, or they did that thing where Gavin Newsom said they're not going to sell any more gas-powered cars after the year 20. Okay, well, what's the next day? What do they ask everyone to do?
To
reduce your
energy.
use of electricity on your power grid. Okay, how are you charging your electric car? And also, all houses built after like 2019, they all have to have an electric charging station assembled in the garage in the state of California in order to be built and brought up to code.
Yeah.
So how does that make any damn sense that you have taken away the right in a few years to buy gas-powered vehicles here, and then you're telling us we have a strained electric system that might fail?
Well, let's be honest. That's 13 years in the future, right?
Yeah.
That's 13 years. And I'm not defending it because, in my opinion, transitioning towards electric vehicle future still depends upon individual vehicles, individual consumption, and individual reliance on companies that provide electrical car services, right? Rather than incredibly accessible, incredibly efficient public transportation in which only those who really need vehicles would have vehicles, right?
That's what I'm saying. You know, like I've seen like too, they're trying to do electric semi trucks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I walk around the streets and I've been seeing a few of them. I mean, yeah, they're quiet as hell. But damn, dude, I look at the back. The battery literally is the size of the height of the semi truck.
Yeah.
It's like in the back part of it, dude. The thing's
That's
like
crazy. I've never seen an electric semi truck.
Yeah, Penske and UPS, they got a few of them out here. There's UPS, and then there's all the, because we got a lot of industry around here. We got all these like movers. They're like they just move shipping containers from warehouse to warehouse, and they just stay in the area. But they're all electric or they're CNG, and CNG stands for compressed natural gas.
Yeah.
Compressed natural gas is actually, believe it or not, the Toyota, they made a vehicle called the Toyota Miata, and a Toyota Miata is a hydrogen fuel cell operated vehicle where your byproduct meaning what comes out of the exhaust,
yeah,
is water. It's run off hydrogen. The byproduct of hydrogen is water.
Wild.
Okay, so for instance,
so what would the fuel be?
The fuel would be hydrogen, and we have a garbage problem in this world. You burn garbage and you capture hydrogen gas.
Yes.
Okay. So there's, for instance, in San Jose, there's a whole community that's powered by burning their own garbage.
So they capture
hydrogen gas that creates energy and clean energy for the HOA that they live in. Yes. In San Jose, California.
Very cool.
So, I mean, there's green alternatives, definitely. But we have 8 billion people that we need to convince.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. Like, yeah, there's
that's the thing is, like, I don't think many of the people need convincing. Who you need to convince is the corporations and the fossil fuel investors and the people who have invested in the current system, who have monopolized the current system. Well, and thus will use that monopoly to resist structural fundamental change.
Definitely. No, and that's the thing that sucks is because, see, once they found oil, fuck, man, it was fucking gung-ho from there.
Yeah.
And that sucks, man. Like, I mean, shit, we got a bunch of fracking around here. There's so much fracking in Southern California. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. How rich can this damn oil still be? Fuck. Like,
Well,
Like
apparently
how much?
the U.S. is actually very rich in oil.
Yeah, because we haven't really been
Using
hitting it. Yeah, and we've been exporting it from other countries and doing all that. But with oil, do you think like they're always going to have to make gas? Like there's always like we're never not going to not have gas, right? Like
Yeah, we're always gonna fart.
yeah, exactly. Like there's always going to be something going out. But then isn't there that whole theory where like also too with deforestation and all that, like that's also sped up the process because you have less trees that can absorb the carbon dioxide?
Yeah, man. I mean, like you're taking out the lungs of the planet. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
the amount of nitrogen or carbon or one of those that the trees are able to.
Methane is number 2. I don't know how many people know that, but methane is the number 2 greenhouse gas.
Methane is number 2, and
And
that's why a lot of people, go vegetarian for environmental reasons.
Because well, then also too, Marcelo, there's methane pockets underneath all the ice, and it's trapped in earth. There's a team of scientists in Alaska that go over frozen lakes and they burst open the lake beds and they ignite the methane right when it comes up to the surface before it can reach the atmosphere and go into the ozone layer. And they fucking have a propane torch, and the guy, they fucking sit there and they drill down, and then they claim that they feel the pressure and they know when it's coming, and it's so strong. And the reason why it's so strong is because this methane is coming from the ice age, and this methane is coming from all of the animals that got frozen in all of their bodies that decomposed under the ice. All the methane gas is trapped in these lakes in Russia, Alaska.
Yeah,
all these. Yeah, and like there's literally a team of scientists in Russia and Alaska and throughout the Arctic Circle, Greenland, Iceland, you name it. And all they do all day is pop methane pockets underneath the ice.
I believe it, man. I believe it.
And that's another thing too. Like I don't think what's also like I think what's also leading to more destruction is like people not addressing the other 14 greenhouse gases that go with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, yes, being the predominant one, but we also have to eliminate the other 14, and about 8 or 9 of them are pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And it's also crazy in America that a lot of greenhouse gases come from all the leaking fracking and oil pipes in Wyoming and Colorado and that general area.
Yes.
Isn't that, you don't hear anybody talking about that. Like, did you learn anything about like when you were going to school for all this, like with oil and like what you can do with the environmental degree that you have to kind of like you said, you don't want to be a voice, but can you push to get things like, okay, like let's draw our attention towards this. Like there's people that live in this community that are like huffing in this gas. Like that's not good.
Yeah. And, a lot of that work and a lot of that attention, a lot of the organization is done by local residents. Who demand, whether they receive it or not is up to it's up to the companies or up to the state or the local county, but they are the ones who bring themselves together, who coordinate. And and that's the thing is like it's easy for people who get educated with a master's degree and whatever to be like, I want to be the voice of the people in Flint, Michigan who are suffering from unclean water. Like I want to represent them. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be representing them because you have no fucking clue what's going on there. They have the clue.
Damn.
They know what they want to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. Yeah.
And so when it comes to it's a lot of these communities, a lot of the people around the mountains that are being fracked in, it's and almost always indigenous people are kicked off of their land.
Well, I
for pipelines or for fracking.
I just had Burn the Wagon on a recent episode, and he had touched on a topic talking about how it's fucked because, well, he's native, and he expressed to me that pretty much they were pushed to those lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were pushed there unwillingly, And at the time, they thought that they were kind of bringing them down. They had no resources. They couldn't fish. They couldn't hunt. But then all of a sudden, the government's like, wait, we can profit through these lands?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. You know, and I understood it. But once he explained it to me like that, I'm like, okay, that's why they're there. Of course. The government's there to they already put you there and already fucking took everything from you. Now they figure, oh, shit, we gave them some shit. We got to make sure we get our money out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's so crazy.
And one sickening part, and he might have touched on this, but is the fact that their ability, almost, in many instances, their ability to retain their means of existence, retain their traditions of life, whether it be hunting, fishing, gathering, farming, planting, migrating, many times within the treaty that the U.S. government signed with these peoples, with these native peoples, get violated once they realize that they can capitalize on natural resources that they made the choice of forcing these people onto.
That's like the same. That's almost like the same shit like how America took Hawaii. Like Hawaii was already established like nation and like province and like had their own like prime minister. Like Hawaii was pretty much taken.
Like, taken by Hawaiians.
No. Hawaii is damn near like another version of Native American, like and pillaging and plundering. Leah had learned that pretty much like Hawaii was like a very successful nation from like the 1820s up until about like the 1920s or 1930s. And then shit started getting weird, and like we found out, and then we put like a base there, and then by
military base.
Yeah, by us putting Pearl Harbor, there was some shit they signed that could, oh, it's ours now. Thanks. Like, it's like, what, America? Like, that's been the most recent takeover in my eyes. Like, I don't know. Did they take some shit we don't know about after that?
Well, you could argue that our actions in the Middle East have been imperialistic for oil.
Well, yeah. Are we still over there? What's the deal with that? Like, America is still in the Middle East. Like, why are we over there?
Well, there's some residual forces left in Afghanistan, I believe.
And that's just because they think they have to be there to keep the Afghani people safe, correct?
Well, the Taliban is in full control of Afghanistan at the moment.
Yeah, and ISIS, does ISIS still exist?
I am not entirely sure. I want to say yes. If not then, but some form of radical...
radicalization is still wreaking havoc on the streets of Afghanistan and Iraq.
Well, the thing is, like, the reason that these countries are in such a state is because of colonial powers, right? Because the UK, the French, and America were like trying to take the resources and occupy this land, and were making decisions, drawing lines, marking territories with no concept of what history had been going on here, of which people sided with who, of the allies, of the traditions, and they were just drawing lines and were like, oh, you get that piece and you get that chunk, because that's how it was. And that's a lot of the reasons, that's why World War I started with Africa. They were cutting it apart and deciding who was owning which part of the continent. And very similar things happened in the Middle East. And that's why Israel is looked down on by so many Arab peoples, because they're seen as like a Western colonial power. A success of the U.S. in that we have an ally to support our capitalist endeavors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, it's just very unfortunate, with what's going on in the world. But with the whole environmental thing, it's just like, hopefully we can get back on track. with what we got going. But was there anything that you did like when you were obtaining your degree, like any classes that you took that were very environmentally like fueled, or like were there some pretty like hardcore like eye-opening like lectures that you did while obtaining this degree?
Yeah, there was a lot. Basically, I had a completely different perception of food that happened.
So okay, we'll switch gears here. So we're just a little environmental and food. I like where this is going. Just remember,
yeah.
we are out here with Marcelo, the master's degree graduate from Arizona State. I hope everybody's got their notebooks out. I told you we're about half hour into the show today, and I feel like we just covered a lot of great topics and a lot of good information. But now it seems like we got the environmental twist with food. So let's let the man's do his thing. Just let's let him tell him. So when you say, okay, you had a different view, like was it how food was grown?
Yeah. I learned a lot about how food was grown historically and modern day, the differences.
Yeah, and just different techniques and how agriculture has progressed from what it was to now what it is today.
Yes. Yeah. That transition from, really sustenance farming for what you need to eat and
hey, just like our
what
boy
you
out
need to survive.
Just like our boy out in Santa Cruz. Remember his slogan?
Dude, yes.
You want to say it for me?
No, you got it.
Okay, here we go. Shout him out. I'm gonna shout out the Froth King, fucking Garrett. Hope you're doing well, buddy. But yeah, we had a bro, me and Marcelo, back in the cruise. A little story time. We'll get back on the information here, but shout out to Garrett, man. Fucking farmer, fucking
yes, Garrett Badano, killing it. He's growing blueberries and kush.
Dude, he's growing some of the bomb. I've gotten a tray of blueberries from Adam through Garrett and have gotten some littles like popcorns. They literally, it was funny. One year they grew like blueberry OG.
No way.
Yeah, so I remember me and him, we were smoking some blueberry and we were eating blueberries from that fucking farm. Shout out Garrett, farmer fucking die, motherfucker. And it is the truth, because if you don't farm, we're all gonna fucking die. Like
exactly.
And
so let's shout out his farm, the Coastal Moon Blueberry Farm.
Yep, they're out in Watsonville, California.
Out in Watsonville.
They grow fully sustainable. It's funny, they do
it's beyond organic.
Well, they switch it up. If I remember correctly, they do Kush during the Kush season, and then blueberries grow during the winter, so they fill their fields with blueberries in the wintertime.
I believe so.
Yeah, so these people got a good thing. It's a certified farm, and they grow sustainable. They grow blueberries in Kush. So when there ain't Kush in the ground, there's blueberries in the ground, and when there ain't blueberries in the ground, there's Kush in the ground.
I got to be honest; those are two of my favorite things.
You know what? I actually had the chance to eat. I think Adam had. I still have a photo, man. Shout out Adam, the Hot 16 surfer. I'll forget and remember. But
True,
it's fucking
Adam.
Yeah, his IG. No, his fucking IG got hacked. So he pretty much kind of not like, he just kind of said fuck social media. So we still got Adam on the team. Don't worry. Shout out Adam Reppenhagen, my surfer out of Santa Cruz, California. I got Mercutio X out of San Bernardino, coming out of San Bernardino. And I'm going to be announcing here pretty soon coming up. I'm going to be announcing some new sponsorships, some new things coming out on the show. We're going to be interviewing them. It's going to be lit. But we kind of just had a little shout out moment really quick. We're just kind of having a good time. We're having a vibe, like always.
Heck yeah, we got a vibe, dog.
Hey, it's Hot 16's. Your host, AJ Tainer, a.k.a. PBP, painting bigger pictures. We out here with Marcelo Lomelin. A very smart individual, and we're going to dive back into talking about how his degree changed his view of food. So this is going to be a good way to really ride out the show. I hope everyone's having a great time so far. So here we go. So let's whip it around. So Marcelo, you had told me that pretty much you have a different view of food and how it was grown, this and that. Well, how are you now eating your food? Are you more cautious when you purchase your products? Do you look at labels? Do you want to grow your own food? Maybe grow your maybe grow your own Kush. Like, is there something that really touched you with what you had said to me prior?
Yeah. Uh, can I say something on Kush for a little bit? Just a quick side note.
Yeah, on Kush. I like Kush.
Since it's been brought up. So, do you know why it's called marijuana? Marijuana?
No, and you're a history major, so I gotta learn this. We're gonna learn something fun.
Well, this is just a quick little
No,
side
that's
bit.
fine. This is history lesson with you, man. That's why we got you on here. I told everybody to get their notebooks and their pens out. Class is now in session. What the fuck? Okay, class, new lesson. This is why marijuana is called marijuana. Marcelo,
Yeah, so
entice the stoner crowd.
because before, obviously, I mean, it was called by various names, but most commonly it was called cannabis.
Yes, and why was it called cannabis?
I think that's the Latin name for it.
Cannabis. So where is like the Latin? Where are the root words there to put cannabis of like on land?
Dude, that's a little too deep for me. I gotta be real.
You're a history major, not an English major.
Yeah, if you want the etymology of cannabis,
he cannot provide that, but he is going to tell us why marijuana is called.
But yeah. So during the whole reefer madness thing in like the 30s and the 20s,
where they're like, oh, you'll fucking get all high and jump out a window or some shit.
Yeah, it's like the devil's lettuce and
fuck yeah, dude! I'm fucking about to rip a bowl of it right now.
Might as well.
Talking about Kush.
Yeah, right. We gotta celebrate. And so in order to associate it with Latin Americans, they changed the name into marijuana.
Well, my dad
in order to create more of like a direct sociological link to immigrants who had come.
Because a lot of the original strains, well, from what I've learned in my time in Mendo and growing Kush, is you had a lot of the strains, well, they come from like India, but then a lot of other original strains come from the peninsula of Mexico.
Yeah, I guess because indigenous Americans were so keen on smoking tobacco.
Yeah.
I wrote one of my theses about it, the way that it was just inherently part of the culture. I mean, and tobacco was found from, it was the one seed found from the tip of southern Chile all the way up to the very northern tip of Alaska.
Natural native tobacco?
Yes.
So is that how, just so I can understand this on a history perspective, I have some smokes in front of me. Like everyone today wouldn't have their nicotine addiction if it wasn't for the discovery of the tobacco seed at the top of a tobacco plant, or where would you get this seed?
Yeah, so I believe, so if I remember correctly, the very first tobacco plant originated in the mountains of Chile.
The first ever, like original or out in South Central and Northern America?
No. This was tobacco. This was the only tobacco.
Oh, this is tobacco, not pot.
So the very first Kush society was India, or at least one portion of what we now know as India.
India and Afghanistan.
Yes, and that's where Kush comes from, the term.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in an attempt to criminalize marijuana or weed, and to criminalize Latinos, particularly Mexicans, it was called marijuana because for some reason, Latinos, particularly Mexicans, really fucked with weed. They really liked it because we were already smoking tobacco pretty habitually, and
then you're like, yeah, let's start
mixing weed with the tobacco was nice. And they already had methods of rolling up dried banana leaves and doing tobacco in various ways, and incorporating weed into the smoking of it, into the pipes and stuff. It just seemed kind of like natural. And
so pretty much they had the tobacco, they were smoking a bunch of it, and then they found this weed out there, and they're like, shit, let's fucking throw some of this on top of it.
No. Weed was brought.
So weed was brought on boats from colonizers from India?
No, from most likely African slaves who had received it from the Middle East.
You know what would make sense there? Because even when I grow pot, if you get a hermaphrodite or you get some seedy weedy, as I'd call it, I guarantee one of those slaves on that boat had a bag of swag.
Yeah.
And they fucking dumped it out. Or because right now, shout out to my uncle. I'm sorry, but I dumped out a bag of shrimp in his backyard.
Nice.
And to this day, 3.5 years later, he's still picking out starts out of his backyard because it had a bunch of seeds in it. And then all these fucking things popped off with a bunch of pollen. Half of them were male, half of them were female. So more pollen started spreading and more seeds dropping. And I pretty much infested my uncle's backyard with hempervatus, which is ditchweed. So once
that's why it's called weed, man. That's why it's called weed.
Yeah, dude, that makes sense. Oh my god, this is so cool. Continue.
But yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Europeans had no concept of smoking.
Is that why white people hate weed so much? Okay, come on.
Well, no. But the whole why it's named marijuana thing is associated with the criminalization of brown and black people as a way to separate the whites from the other, right?
Yeah.
You are not American. I am American. I belong here. You
fucking don't. Get out of here.
Yeah, despite the fact that I stole this land and killed and raped, like millions of people to get it, but you don't belong here. Despite the fact that you were here first, this is not your land. You're an immigrant.
That's what I actually learned. This is like crazy that I even learned this because no one has ever taught me this. I taught myself this. The War of Mendocino.
War of Mendocino.
It was in the 1850s, and it was when, like, pretty much like California had become a state in like 1850, and it wasn't like the state we know today in terms of the territory. And I learned where I grew up in my county with Pomos and natives that pretty much there was a war, and there was a team of generals in a small army that pillaged and plundered the land out there. And it has been noted as one of the most like inhumane, like,
damn,
it was just
brutal.
Well, it's in comparison to this. And what I'm trying to get at is there was a leader who was funded by the government. Okay. I don't know who the fuck the president was in 1850, but pretty much just like how we know today, like with the Pentagon, you don't get more money unless you spend that money.
Right.
So that rule still applied way back then. And so that like these militia groups were heavily funded by the U.S. government, even after the colonization and the ratification of California becoming the state in 1850. The government funded up until like 1856 or 57 or something like that. Maybe 1860, even before the Civil War, they were funding just this pillage and plundering of the Pomo people where I'm from, and it was known as the War of Mendocino, and it went on for many years. And it was and it was the tribes where I grew up, near where I grew up, around the tribes I grew up around. They were fighting to keep their land, and they got fucking pretty much under 1,000 people in the tribe, and it was about like 80 or 90,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
At like a strong point. And yeah, they got under 1,000 people, and I think they're about maybe like 3,000 or 4,000 strong now in modern day.
Still though, I mean, that's devastating.
Exactly. And it's just crazy because I just kind of wanted to learn about my county and where I grew up, and that was something that I kind of dug up, and I was like, damn, the War of Mendocino is a documented war on U.S. territory against Native Americans and the U.S. government up near the Covelo region in Mendocino. Look it up.
And
look it up.
And that's the thing is, like, if you grow up around that area, that should be part of your schooling.
Well, we learned about Fort Ross, and the fucked up thing about that is we learned about colonization. Russia had a fort where in the 1840s, the Russian, Russia thought, okay, well, how, back in the day when you're still getting around on a boat in the ocean and you're landing, oh, hey, fair trade, blah, 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 like how it was before the Industrial Revolution. Dude, Russia legitimately in California for 50 years had a colony called Fort Ross. and they would trade with Native Americans, but it was colonization. So it's like, that's something that we learned about was Fort Ross, but it was fucked. And pretty much like the Russians had this little base. And I learned too that the Native Americans had lived underground in like these like dugout burrowed like homes.
What?
Yeah, dude. And there's still like remnants of them, like where they dug out and they would cover and they would live underground because it had gotten to a point where it was just not a good thing going on. And so the Native
It's just not safe to be outside.
Yeah, so the Native Americans' houses outside of the colony of the Russians of Fort Ross, they burrowed down underneath into these fucking things that they built underground. And
Talk about resiliency.
Yeah, and then one thing we did learn about though too is when we were doing the whole like that whole thing with like Fort Ross is like we had different groups. We had militia, we had hunters, we had gatherers, we had artisans. We had like we were 10 years old and they were trying to like show us like this is how life was. And we even like our teachers assigned us, they got a list of names of people that died at Fort Ross. And we were all assigned a name. And we all had to make these journals, how they used to make them back in the 1840s. And you take paper, some of the original pulp paper recipes. And then what they would do is they would make one and then they would crinkle up and over and over and over again to make the book cover. And so what we did is like we learned how to make this glue from scratch. And we fucking took all these pages and we took like a brown paper bag and we crumpled it up a bunch.
Dude, what?
Yeah, and we made these journals. And so throughout the year, though, bro, which was really even interesting, we had a class currency in our 4th grade class, and we had rubies, which was a Russian currency in the 1800s. And our teacher would print out these things, and we would have this like store between the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders where we could go and we would bring things like, dude, people would bring dolls and video games, and like we had this store, but we would pay. But then our teachers taught us what you're doing right now. Look at that piece of paper with a number on it has value.
Right.
They taught us in 4th grade that this $100 bill is the same thing as what you're doing right now. And I thought that was one of the greatest lessons I ever got when I was under 10 years old, was our teachers being like, yeah, let's fucking show them how fucked this shit is. Yes. Because that piece of paper was worth the same amount as a piece of paper in my teacher's wallet.
Right.
And he literally had us on this cash system, these rubies, these Russian rubies, whatever the currency was back in the 1800s.
Rubles?
Rubles. There you go. Rubles. There you go. Rubles. And we even, dude, because we were so shisty and greed, we would go to copy stores in our town and we would print these fucking things and then bring them to class like, yeah, I got hella shit. And then we would
schemers.
And then we would sell fakes.
Dude,
you could get like 100 rubles for like 50 rubles. So I would exchange fake rubles, already fake rubles, for more fake rubles.
Yeah.
So that was where the hustling came in for me, man. I remember like 9th, 10th grade, I was hustling kids. I was like the first one because my dad, his friend was the guy that owned a copy store in town. So I fucking would go with my dad when he would do these football pull things. And I'd be like, yeah, Dave, fucking run it up. Like, copy these things. I fucking need to sell them for half of what they cost and then exchange them for, and like, damn, dude, I should just work in the stock market.
Yeah, you probably should have. That's might have been your true calling.
It's crazy how we went from talking about like Native Americans and then Russian colonization and Fort Ross, and then now I'm like, yeah, I used to fucking punk kids with fake currency. Yo, but that's what it's all about, though, here, man. We're just out here always vibing, having a good time. But, yo, Cello like Jello, Marcelo, Mr. Lomelin. Now we got to start saying Mr. Lomelin, man.
Oh, no, not even.
This is
Mr. Lomelin. Just call me Marcelo M.A.
There we go. That's just Marcelo.
It's an MS.
MS, Master of Science, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's out there. Well, you got your first degree from UC Santa Cruz, where I met you, and then you furthered your education at Arizona State University. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So he's
got my undergraduate in history and then my master's in justice.
Yeah, very, very, very smart man with a lot to say. And you pretty much have heard it here. we out here, Marcelo. I just want to let you know that, it's been a great time talking with you, laughing, and
Heck
like,
yeah, man. It's a
we
pleasure.
were talking about Kush, and like, I guess they called marijuana because they just wanted to pinpoint it on criminals and pinpoint people.
Well, they wanted to put it on Latinos and Mexicans
Yeah.
to make us appear as criminals to the established American populace.
Yeah.
For them to be threatened by us, right? Because we're gonna smoke weed and rape all their women, right?
Uh-huh.
Because, that's what we do.
Well, you don't. It's all good. We all know what the truth is.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna smoke some weed and no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not. No, hey man, we're all smoking weed out here. Did I pack a binger? I did. I think I did. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, but we're out here though. This is the next installment. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show. We've hit double digits. We're finally getting these episodes out. It feels really good, dude. Like, and I was telling you before we got on, I was like, dude, like, I got all these people starting to hit me up and shit. And like,
yes,
I know that like, I was like, I told myself, take time to get yourself out there. Cause I tried to do this all last year or 2 years ago. And I was like, well, who the fuck do I know? Like, I put myself out there. I
know a lot of motherfuckers.
Well, now I do. I mean, shit. I mean, you know me ever since I knew you, man. I know how to I know how to talk to people. I know how to network with people. It's something I'm really good at.
The first time I met you, you were on the balcony of Max's room, literally throwing weed off the balcony at people, going like, "You like Kush? Take some weed." And I was like,
and that's facts right there. That's facts. My first ever time at UC Santa Cruz, I fucking show up and I got this fucking action packer just
oh my god,
it was
the
so
biggest
much
bag of weed I'd ever seen at that.
Yeah, and I meet all these kids, Marcelo being one of them, out from LA, and dude, I had an action packer with probably 10 pounds.
Yeah, probably
something. And so then I was like trying to be cool. I was 18. I was like, fuck, dude, I'm just gonna go and throw Kush off this balcony. And so I fucking was like, literally had the thing by my feet and was grabbing little bags and stuff. And I'm, hey, you like Kush? Here you go. Fucking yeah, dude. I think I threw out like 4 or 5 bags, and then you guys were starting to teach me about the CSOs, and you were all fucking just like, nah, dude, you can't be doing that. Fucking, you're gonna get us rolled. And I'm like, well, I was like, what? Free Kush? Like,
you're like, it's not just like the lay of the land where everyone has weed.
Yeah, So yeah, that's big fact. Shout out Marcelo for bringing that one up. I remember that, man. That was my first weekend down there. And you were it wasn't like you were standoffish, but then I remember we transitioned out into the Porter Meadows. Shout out Porter Meadows, fucking 420 Fest, UC Santa Cruz. Look up 2 Pound Joint. And
yes,
Gennady, our boy Gennady. Look up, fucking goated legend. Shout out Porter Meadows. You want to wonder how much fucking pot we smoke on this show? Well, there you fucking go. There you fucking go. But then we transitioned out to the field. And I remember I had the PVC fucking, I had the acrylic binger with the PVC pipe extension. And all you guys were like, who the fuck is this kid? We know he doesn't live with us. We know he does not go to school here. Yeah. And then Max pops out of the woodworks and he's just all like, oh, yeah, it's my friend from up north. He's staying for the weekend. And then in the middle of that, me taking a massive moke. And then it's just like, you told me, I remember the first thing you ever said, the first thing this guy ever said to me, I want this to be put on camera. It was like, dude, why is the smoke so yellow? I've never seen it like that before. That was the first thing this guy says to me. And I'm all like, yeah, dude, I fucking milked it and fucking yoked it. Yeah. And he was, they were, a little stand backish, but it's okay. We're still friends, It took him some time to wrap around.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing was, you were casually smoking tobacco out of the bong.
Yeah, and everyone was like, what the fuck? And he's throwing weed in that shit? Like, you guys literally, no one had seen that shit.
But it was a joke. To me, in my circle, it was purely a comical ha ha ha.
Oh yeah, throw some tobacco
for tobacco use only. That sticker that would be on the bongs.
Oh my god!
And it's dude, Matt, we would laugh out loud and be like, dude, imagine if someone smoked tobacco out of this bong. Like, that'd be fucking crazy.
I do it to this day. I'd be taking...
Lo and behold, homies are doing it and fucking love
Dude,
it.
I be taking chokies all the time, bro. You fucking fuck. Take a fucking chokey, dude. Straight tea. Fucking T-balls. Fuck, I got fucked, dude. Fucking anybody that's gonna try and fucking step up to me with a binger, you better be ready. I'll fucking...
I'm smoking backy out of it.
I'll fucking smoke backwood guts. I don't even care. Like,
decaf.
Shit, decaf. There you go. That's pressure right there.
Decaf. No, decaf.
Oh,
don't give a fuck.
Where did I get decaf?
I don't know, but that's funny as hell.
See, there you go. It's pure comedy. Oh boy, yeah. We out here though. So yo, really quick though, Marcelo, we're wrapping around towards the end. It's been such a fun hour with you. Is there anybody that you want to shout out really quick before we send you off on your merry way back to your lovely life?
Well, I mean, I want to shout out PBP, Painting Bigger Pictures. My boy, entertainer over here, holding it down, doing what you love and never stopping. You're building a community pretty much single-handedly, and I respect the fuck out of you, man. I'm able to have pretty incredible conversations with you. And,
I know, man. We always, when we get to talking, and I'm glad today people got to see that energy. Like, and not only is Marcelo a guest, but he's a good friend of mine. So I'm gonna be doing more of these episodes where I'm bringing the homies on, and like we get the homie vibe plus what they got going on. You know, I'm not just gonna make it all homie. Like they also they're also out there trying to get their bread. You know?
Yeah,
so,
1000%.
Yeah, and if anybody needs to hire the homie.
Yeah, if anybody wants a researcher. If any nonprofit working in sustainable housing, sustainable agriculture, community organizing, need a researcher, field researcher, data analyst, I'm there.
And you heard him right there. That was Marcelo Lomelin, the GOAT, coming out and being on the Hot 16 show, getting us over the double digits of episodes. It's been so fun today. Like always, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for giving me an hour of your time. You know, whatever you were doing, whether you were delivering, driving, catching a vibe, driving down the 101. It don't matter what it is. PBP, Hot 16's, Marcelo Lomelin. We're out here. It was a good time with y'all.
Hell yeah. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's been great.
Shout out to the Hot 16 fam.
Shout out to the audience. You guys make this happen. You keep me motivated. You guys hit me up on the DMs. You message me. You give me feedback, which I always tell you I need it. So with this episode, I need y'all to once again slide into my DMs. I need you to give me that encouragement. I need everybody to. I shouldn't say that. That is very, very not a good thing to say.
No, you would. I
would appreciate it if everybody could give me some constructive criticism, like y'all been doing. Keep that going. It just gives me more input and more insight on what I need to improve on every day with the show. It gives me better insight on how to bring guests in. You know, like for instance, today wasn't a hip hop version. Today was a learning lesson brought to you in part by Marcelo and myself. We shared a lot. We shared a lot of topics today. It was really great, and I hope you learned something.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I hope to you have me back on soon, bro.
Oh, we'll have you definitely back on, and hopefully we can do like I was thinking too, because with y'all, because we're just so funny. Because I'm gonna be doing a fantasy football episode here pretty soon on my fantasy league. So nice. I was thinking maybe on one of our poker nights we could do a fucking a poker night podcast episode, and I just put the fucking mic right in the middle of the fucking poker table.
That'd be cool.
And we just rip it, and we just do like a hour to 2 hour episode of just pure comedy.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Cool, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let my audience go.
Yeah,
we'll definitely stay in touch. We'll do our thing. I'm really proud of you, man. And Hot 16's all the way to the top, baby. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Peace, everybody. Have a good one.
Nothing but love.
Cheers.